There's one mechanic you'll stumble on in games, more often than swinging a sword or firing a gun. And it's not flashy or explosive thing, and it rarely pushes the plot forward, but for some reason almost every developer feels obligated to include it into their game, Todd Howard including. And this mechanic is fishing. You've seen it in RPGs, survival games, farming sims, even in post-apocalyptic wastelands. 1 minute you're slaying dragons or running from zombies, and the next you're waist deep in a lake watching a bobber wiggle in the water, like your life depends on it. And despite that, I never once heard a complaint about it. People are criticizing all kinds of game mechanics, plot points and design decisions, but I'm yet to see anyone disliking fishing. Why is it so? It shouldn't make sense. You're the chosen one, the world dweller, fantastical hero, the last hope of humanity. But there you are, pausing the apocalypse to catch a trout. But why? Why does this gentle, repetitive, often optional activity shows up in so many games? And more importantly, why do we love it so much? That not only it became a norm to have it everywhere, but there are more and more popular games that are using fishing as their core mechanic. And compared to other human activities, it's not just a couple niche simulators. No, instead it became a genre. Dredge, Moonglow Bay, Dave the Diver, these aren't just minigames stretched out. Their entire experience is built on a simple act of casting a line and waiting. Or, well, diving into the ocean to fight fish on equal terms. And they're not aimed at some specific corner of people either, like American Truck Simulator, which I can't wrap my head around. No, instead people who'd never pick a real rod in their lives are out there spending hours digitally fishing. Willingly and happily, pretty much. And I would say even almost ritualistically. It begs the question, what's actually happening here? Part of the answer, I think, like I like saying on this channel, it's one of the few mechanics that truly allow you to relax, where stillness is not just allowed but rewarded. And in a medium obsessed with movement and progress, it seems to be a radically new idea. There is a strange kind of peace in the act, whether you're pulling sunfish from the lakes of Stardew Valley or trying to hook a pixelated mackerel in Minecraft. Fishing has this magical ability to make you forget whatever quest you were on and just stay there for a moment. It's a very meditative experience. And it slips into our game so seamlessly that we hardly question it anymore. Like every game in any world, no matter how fantastical or hellish, should come with a rod, a reel, and a quiet body of water, or, well, any other type of liquid for that matter. But there's more to it than this. It's more than just vibes. And once you start pulling on that thread, it gets surprisingly deep. So, my dear viewer, let's dive deep in the ocean of possibilities today, and find out why we're so obsessed with fishing. And let's start with the simple fact that fishing works in games because it's stupidly effective game design. If we think about it, fishing functionally is a very simple loop. You just cast the reel, wait for a bit, react to fish biting, and get your reward. And usually that's it. But within that tiny loop lives an entire economy of design. You've got timing mechanics, rarity tables, equipment upgrades, bait types, maybe even location-specific catches, like in Stardew. In other words, it has depth, if you see what I did there, but without complexity overload. It's the kind of system you can teach in 30 seconds but master in many hours. And developers love this kind of stuff, because it's one of those rare mechanics that appeals to hardcore completionists and casual chillers at the same time. You can fish absent-mindedly in Spiritfarer, or you can sweat for perfect legendary catches in Stardew Valley. It can change depending on the developer's need for this mechanic, making it as easy or as hard as the game needs, while still catering to most of the people. But it's not just how fishing works, it's when it works that really matters, because fishing almost never exists in isolation. It lives between story beats, between combat encounters, between stress, it's the breath between the paragraphs. It's like all those slice-of-life moments in Persona games. Instead of just blindly rushing through everything game has to offer, it invites you to take in the beauty developers created. I mean, take the same Red Dead Redemption 2. You've got shootouts, train heists, a slow-motion collapse of everything Arthur Morgan believes in. I hope I didn't spoil anything for you. And yet some of the most memorable moments come from standing next to a river with Jack teaching him how to fish. And it's not just the story beats, it's the feeling that it creates. This feeling of water flowing by in constant motion down into the valley, and you standing there, sun shining over you as you wait for your next big catch. And despite beauty of those moments, I think this is by far not the only reason why we like the fishing so much. Because also on gameplay level it provides one of the cleanest and most satisfying reward loops out there. It's a system built entirely on anticipation and surprise, and it's one of the few such systems that delivers both without being exploitative. Every cast is a little mystery box. Maybe it's trash, maybe it's a tiny common guppy, or maybe it's a rare beast that you need for that museum exhibit, or a high-paying quest. It's a gamble, but a good one. And for example, hunting does not give you that, because you know what you're hunting. But when you cast a rod into the sea or lake, you don't really know what you're getting. It's not unlike actual loot boxes, but you're not paying for every swing of the rod. There's no predatory mechanics or currency involved, but it gives you the same excitement, just time and splash of luck. And it's also by its nature inherently collectible, and gamers love collecting things. A fishing log or aquarium checklist is just like a Pokédex with more fins. And that's a big part of the charm in something like Dave the Diver. Every new biome or DLC isn't just more content, it's more weird and wonderful fish to discover, log and proudly display. Or take the same Dredge that I have on this channel, by the way. It's a fishing game where everything you catch might be something twisted and alien, something that blinks when it shouldn't, or has extra set of eyes where there shouldn't be none. It turns fishing into something not just rewarding but thrilling. You want to explore this system. In usual Lovecraftian manner, you want to see what ocean is hiding. Perhaps you won't like it, but you're still interested. And the excitement isn't just catching the fish, it's wondering what kind of unnatural horror you'll drag up next. And if developers are good at their job, it's of course about progression. Fishing is often embedded into the game's economy in real smart ways. You catch more fish to get more money, to get better rods or lures, to catch better fish, and so on. And it can seamlessly integrate with other systems. For example, if you have cooking in-game, some cooked fish can add you some bonuses or at least replace the healing options. And most interesting part of all of this is that it's one of the few mechanics that is inherently non-combat mechanic. It's one of those few systems that lets you feel like you're improving and mastering the game without fighting anything. And that might be one of the biggest reasons why fishing has survived for all these years. It offers a sense of achievement without violence. You're not conquering anything, you're just coexisting with the world. But despite that, beneath all that cozy aesthetics, progress bars and cartoon bobbers, there's something much older at play. Fishing in games works so well not just because it's relaxing, but because it taps into one of our oldest survival desires. Long before we were managing inventories or unlocking achievements, we were hunter-gatherers. And fishing is one of the oldest, most essential skills we ever developed. And despite the fact that we're not actually taking a spear in our hands and going into the river, I think the game simulated perfectly. You're scanning for signs, picking your spots, choosing your tools. We're still engaging in the same risk-reward tension your ancestors felt on the riverbanks 10,000 years ago. Will it bite? Will it escape? Will today be a good day? That tension is still wired into us, and games know exactly how to activate it. Even in randomness, what kind of fish, how big, how rare, mirrors the unpredictability of real-life foraging. And when you get something, your brain gives you the same burst of chemical reward it was trained to release for actual food. It's not like you need the fish, you don't need the money in games either, but you want it because you were made to want it. Knowing this, it's funny how something born from survival became one of the softest and warmest mechanics in modern games. The same hunter-gatherer loop has found a new home in the hearts of cozy gaming boom. Except now, it's not about feeding your tribe or fending off starvation, it's about escaping corporate life, finding joy, and building a life worth living. And somehow fishing fits that shift perfectly. All the modern renaissance of close-to-nature relaxing games, from Stardew Valley to Fields of Mistria, is focused on simple things, simple, humane tasks rather than saving the world. They're about waking up, watering crops, talking to your neighbors, and maybe spending an hour fishing by the shore, just because you feel like it. And it's not a filler, it's the whole point of those games. Fishing became one of the pillars of the genre, because it naturally embodies what cozy games value: routine, reflection, and reward. It gives you a reason to go somewhere and do something, and maybe discover a new creature along the way. But just because it's cozy, it doesn't mean it's shallow. A lot of these games go surprisingly deep with their fishing systems. Moonglow Bay weaves fishing into an emotional narrative of grief, community rebuilding, and family legacy. Dave the Diver combines fishing with underwater exploration, sushi restaurant management, and even a bit of espionage. And what's more wild, it all works, and we want that. We reached a point where game can be about fishing entirely and still thrive. And it's great, and it also makes it special as opposed to something like hunting or supermarket management thing. Because what started as a humble side activity has quietly evolved into full genre, with its own moods, expectations, and even fanbase. Cozy fishing games aren't a trend, but they're new kind of comfort food, something you come back to when you've had enough of noise and urgency. And for a mechanic so simple, fishing carries an awful lot of meaning. Starting as a simple survival tool, it just shifted adapting to whatever the player or the game needed it to be. And maybe that's the secret. Fishing doesn't demand attention, but it always earns it. It can be meditative or thrilling, passive or technical, funny or haunting. It slides into the quiet moments and holds space without needing to explain itself. And that's especially rare in games nowadays, where every mechanic, every challenge screams for spectacle. And thankfully it seems developers nowadays seem to have understood that. That's why in everything from Zelda to Yakuza, from Skyrim to Nier has introduced its own version of this mechanic. And considering that the only one other mechanic that goes from one game to another is inflicting a lot of violence, I think it's a welcome change. You can ride dragons and sling spells, mow down hordes of undead or manage your intergalactic spaceport, but if you give me a rod and a body of water, I'm gonna stop and do some fishing. And maybe that's the real power of it, the fact that it stays fun and engaging across all the genres and across the years. And I hope it will continue to do so.